Welcome to my podcast. I'm your host, Christian Peter. And in our kickoff episode, we're going to be starting with one of the seminal pieces of our work covering commercial listings for agents. You see, listings are one of the most coveted parts of the business, kind of the holy grail of commercial real estate, if you will. And frankly, they're what you need to get you to the top of the earning pyramid as quickly as possible. So, what we're going to be doing is sharing not only ideas, but pieces of information that you can implement in your business today so you can immediately start making more money. Join us on the journey. You'll be happy you did. Along the way, we'll be giving you actionable information as well as case studies and all sorts of things that you can take away and put into your business. So, without further ado, let's get started. Commercial listings for agents. How to get your next commercial listing in 30 days or less. You've taken the steps to get into commercial real estate brokerage. You've gotten started, put in the hours, and even made some sale or lease transactions along the way. But at the end of the day, you aren't making the money that you know you're capable of. So, finally, left wondering, how do I get sellers to list commercial properties for sale with me? Finding a way to crack that code means you have more control of your business, more consistency in your earnings, all while working less and making more. Having a plan in place to accomplish this will give you the confidence that you need to make the move from solely a leasing or buyer's agent to becoming a coveted seller's agent. Join me on the journey as we dive deeper.
Chapter 1, Breaking into the Commercial Secret Society. As of the writing of this book, a couple of major events have occurred in the commercial real estate market. Interest rates have dropped precipitously, things have slowed to a grinding halt when COVID pandemic came about, so the government dropped interest rates to bring people into the market, and this brought a deluge of buyers with them. Now, a lot of agents have been struggling in bidding wars because there's so many buyers in the market, and so much inventory that sat on the market during COVID had been absorbed by ravenous buyers. So commercial buyers agents all complain that there is no inventory out there, and what is out there is being priced outside of their clients' budgets. At the same time, on the commercial side, where opportunities are really starting to present themselves now. Stores and restaurants have either downsized or are working at partial capacity, temporarily closed, or even closed for good. So now what we're seeing post-COVID is we're absolutely going to see more of, because we saw this in 2008, and it's a number of empty retail spaces and a few office buildings and landlords that have a fair amount of space unoccupied. But what we aren't seeing is a lot of people using office and retail space the way they used to. Many commercial agents that were required by their brokerage to specialize in only one property type or another are feeling the pressure of not enough inventory and not enough business to go around in their area of specialization. This is nothing new. What I teach flies in the face of what we call commonly accepted principles. Now, in brokerage, but more on that later. There's a whole lot of opportunity. Conventional brokerage wisdom dictates that you pick one property type, be it multifamily, industrial, retail, or office, draw a circle or rectangle around a certain geographical area, and for you to learn every owner and tenant in that area, learn about every transaction that occurred, and become the area expert, air quotes. That sounds good, and that made perfectly logical sense if this was 1995. Now, a lot of that dogma came from brokerages that have a dozen or more agents, and they don't want everyone fighting over the same owners and properties and opportunities and so forth. So naturally, they made a clear defined line of all the types of properties that you are allowed to work on. Now, I spent the first 10 years of my career doing office and industrial leasing. So I knew the property type well, and remember being chastised publicly in a meeting by my then broker that if I was a industrial guy, what was I doing with an office buyer? It never made sense to me. Knowledge is knowledge, right? Can a grocer only sell apples? Or should he give business away just because he doesn't want to step on someone's toes that wants to sell oranges? Just didn't add up. So think about this. What if you weren't limited to just one property type? What if you became knowledgeable on 2 or 3 or even 4? How much more opportunity would there be out there for you? What if, by the new opportunities that expanding your scope created, you decided to focus solely on listing and selling properties? What then? Can you picture, just for a minute, how much more money your business can earn if it didn't matter what property type came along because you were equipped to handle all of them? That is my recommendation to all of you. Become knowledgeable on multiple property types and focus only on representing sellers, period. Your broker might not like this, but I promise you, your banker will. Okay, now that I have your attention, let's talk about some of the hurdles in getting there. Breaking into the secret society. I wish I had a nickel for every time one of my students mentioned what a secret society commercial real estate is. In fact, they all say, no commercial agent wants to share their knowledge. They just want to help them with their first transaction and take 50% of the commission, and that's after the brokerage house takes 40 to 50%. One agent I spoke to did the math, and at the end of the day, when she closes a transaction, she brings home 15 cents on the dollar after paying the brokerage their cut and the other broker in her company that assisted her in the deal that she procured his cut, and some other mysterious marketing fees that the brokerage charges. It's pretty hard to get out from under that earnings structure. No wonder why there's a 95% failure rate in the first year in the business and a 97% failure rate in the second year of commercial brokerage business. The deck is stacked against new brokers, and on top of that, the veteran brokers rarely want to share their knowledge. Now, I believe this really stems from a place of scarcity. A friend of mine who used to work on Wall Street and left to work in real estate brokerage told me, I thought stock brokerage was cutthroat. He said it's absolutely nothing compared to real estate brokerage. Now, he works on the residential side, and on the residential side, there are a lot more transactions and a lot more people in need of your help. I mean, if you think about it, everyone needs a roof over their head, so realtors have the ability to service most of the general public. Conversely, on the commercial side, getting back to the whole scarcity issue, there are far fewer transactions. As a result, they are far larger as well. I read a statistic not too long ago from a study done in 2015, and the National Association of Realtors said that the average size of a commercial deal across the U.S. was $1.9 million. Now compare that to the median home price across the U.S. When I was researching for this book, it was $226,000. Now, if you consider the average commercial transaction is 8 times the size of the average residential transaction, you can see why there's more of a scarcity mindset. If there are fewer transactions, and they're oftentimes a far larger dollar volume. So if you look at the money, you can make the same amount of money with just one transaction that you can with 8 on the residential side. So there's a whole lot more reason for agents not to want to share their knowledge. There's a whole lot more reasons for agents to say, oh, no, that's too difficult for you to handle. Let's work on it together and we'll split it. Secret society equals fear and selfish society. Commercial real estate agents can be motivated to cut people out of deals, to go around a listing broker and go directly to the owner, and all other kinds of, unfortunately, underhanded moves. After all, there are far fewer transactions and people are more attached to each individual one. For instance, if you had 50 deals that you're working on versus 2, which one are you going to be more attached to? The 1 out of 50 or the 1 out of 2? I rest my case. I personally had this issue as a new broker trying to learn commercial. I was working for the first time at a brokerage business, and I was a junior broker on a team, and the senior broker had an arrangement with the owner of the company that he was going to receive a referral for every transaction that I closed. Suffice to say, there was an obvious financial incentive for this person to help me with the growth of my business and career and so forth. Now, I was there for about a year, and it seemed like every time I wanted to talk business, this person wanted to talk about anything other than business. No matter how many times I tried to open up conversations, I just couldn't get them to help me. Finally, frustrated, I wound up finding another opportunity at another company, and I took it. The day I left, they asked why I was leaving. I said, do you really want to know honestly? They said, yeah. I said, honestly, I felt that I wanted to be supported in my progress and that the senior broker actually admitted that he played it close to the vest because I'm, in a sense, competition. They didn't want to really teach me everything that they knew and show me the tricks of the trade because they were viewing me as future competition. Now, even with a financial incentive, they still didn't want to teach me. When people talk about the secret society, I totally get it. Because at that brokerage business, I had someone who was literally going to benefit from my success financially and still refused to help me. Catherine's story. Catherine's a perfect example. This is a tough business to break into for a number of reasons. Basically, as I mentioned before, on the residential side, everyone you know, everyone you talk to at the grocery store, everyone you see at church walking down the street, all need a roof over their heads. Every human being on earth, in a sense, is a potential client. But in commercial, you need to know exactly where to go to find clients. You just can't run into them at the water fountain or at Starbucks. On top of that, commercial properties are a bit different from residential in that they're very specialized. Whereas, everyone grew up in an apartment or a house or a condo. So in a sense, you kind of understand the property type intuitively. You know what a kitchen looks like, bathroom, attic, basement, master bedroom, what have you. Commercial properties are an entirely different animal. You need to have a resource to learn about them. On top of that fact, there are very few resources to learn, and more importantly, there are very few people willing to guide you. And it's pretty obvious why there's a high failure rate in the first year for people who are looking to learn commercial. What I see over and over again is a lack of mentors. The information is not very organized, and in fact, it's quite disorganized in terms of where you go to find it. Now, you can find it there, but the question is, how far and how long do you have to search? And is the information even accurate? The deal cycles, or time it takes from the first meeting until you close a transaction with a client and actually get paid, are significantly longer in commercial real estate than residential. Oftentimes in commercial companies or brokerage companies, the training is just flat out insufficient. Catherine, one of my students, was experiencing several of these common hardships in her first year. She was working in a company that was not aligned with her long-term goals. In fact, she was getting pressure from her broker to go chase after these monster deals because they wanted her to do the legwork and then step in once she hooked the big fish. Well, she was all over the place with absolutely no business plan. It was just, here's a phone number, go out, reach out to this person. Here's a phone number, go out, reach out to that person. Dogs chasing school buses. I watched her for the better part of a year, just beating her head against the wall. I swear, if I told her once, I told her 1,000 times, stop chasing the huge deals. In a kind way, I said, listen, it's like a dog chasing a school bus. Even if it caught the school bus, it wouldn't be able to drive it, so what's the point? I helped her implement a better business plan, and I became her mentor. Once she made a few changes to her business plan, she got into a company that didn't stand in her way. She started working on the right things, and she was absolutely off to the races. In fact, in the 6 months since she and I started working together on a regular basis, she closed 8 deals. Now compare that with her first year plus in the business at another company, and she didn't even close a single one. Not one. The key takeaway is that it wasn't until she put 3 important pieces into place that she actually saw results. The company, which I recommended she change, the mentor, me, and a business plan. The first one was obviously up to her, but I wasn't able to assist her on the other 2. This brings me to the next subject, which is the bridge between being a leasing and buyer agent and a listing agent. And that's what we're going to do and handle in chapter 2, is the bridge between leasing, buyer agent, and listing agent.